Welcome, everyone, to this week's USL show. I am everyone's favorite backup host, Kevin McCamish, standing in for the wonderful Evan Villela. With me today, standing in for Evan, our very own Merc with a mouth, Carson Merc.
Nice. I like that. That's not bad. I can deal with it.
Alliteration is always a winner in my book.
Always.
He puts the stat man in Statistical Maniac, Ryan Allen.
Hello, how's everyone else doing tonight?
Good.
Yeah.
He lives in the center of the country and the center of our hearts. Phil Grooms.
Oh, I like that. It's got a very Midwestern vibe itself, that saying, so I like it. I'm good. I'm tired, and I made myself a White Russian because that's all the alcohol I have left is vodka and Kahlua, and I have some milk because I have kids.
Nice. He knows when you are sleeping. He knows when you are awake. And he knows when your team has been bad or good, so don't question him, for goodness sake. It's Pony!
New announcements always throw me off like that.
I had to do good, be some good intros in Evan's place. So right off the bat, we're going to thanks to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier of MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. Also, we are a proud partner of the Beautiful Game Network. You can find the USL show on bgn.fm or theuslshow.com. Don't forget to subscribe. And, of course, Soccer Loco, the best soccer gear website for any gear needs. Go to uslshow.com, click on the banner, and give DK your love, courtesy of us.
Happy birthday to DK either today or yesterday.
Oh, it's his birthday, too? Even better.
It was either today or yesterday, and it actually popped up on LinkedIn, which was an odd place, but I wished him happy birthday anyway.
Well, go out there, click on our banner, buy some gear from him just for his birthday. All right, we'll start off real quick. I got a couple news items. We'll start off with USL ratings and playoff odds. Looks like they've been added by 538. Currently shows the top 5 to win the final as FC Cincinnati with 18%, Orange County at 15%, Real Monarchs at a 14%, Louisville 11%, and Pittsburgh with a 9% chance. Did you guys get a chance to check out this website?
Didn't see that it updated.
Did it update?
Well, originally I thought Orange County was a favorite to win it.
Oh, we lost Pony again.
Yeah, he hit it. He just hit the mute button.
It did update. So 538 is relatively good with getting all their stats updated. So it, as of 9/27, and on August 12th, it was able to update with now FC Cincinnati as the favorite to win the final, and one of 7 clubs now who are at above a 99%, or one of 8 clubs, apologies, that are chance of making the playoffs. OC, Monarchs, Louisville, Pittsburgh, Phoenix, Charleston, and Sacramento are those other above 99% chances per 538.
Sounds right.
Yeah, right.
I feel like I rely on Ryan and Pony for my stats. I think this site is just supplementing them.
I agree. I think we can do a little better than judging 9 or 6, 7 teams with 99% chance to win it.
Or to qualify, I think.
Oh, to qualify.
Like
Yeah, just to qualify.
Sorry, go ahead, Kev.
I was going to say there's 30 some odd teams and 16 can make the playoffs. So like just a little under half can make it. It's not hard to say. Given a certain amount of points, someone's got a 99.9% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
And they've already declared 6 teams at less than a 1% chance of making the playoffs. Those would be TFC 2, Tulsa, Richmond, Atlanta, Seattle 2, and RGV.
RGV, really? Well, that's unfortunate.
Kicking the stones for me.
I think there's more teams than that have no chance.
Although, Pony, I know you're really talking about this, that it has their global rankings where it ranks 576 different clubs across the entire world. This includes like the top 5 in Europe. You do all the top 4 tiers of England. You include the Scottish Premiership in there. And it was interesting where they rated a lot of the USL teams amongst this like top 576 clubs in the world.
Yeah, it proves they don't know what they're talking about, or at least are kind of ignoring important things.
Really did. The biggest one being what the Real Monarchs were better than RSL. That was funny.
Yeah,
In the updated rankings, it's now been switched that RSL is at 384 and Real Monarchs are at 391 currently.
Okay, so they did fix it. Is 538? Is it? It's not a soccer site. It's a betting site, right? Is that how?
just numbers, really.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a
Data
number site
analytics.
owned by ESPN. They did a lot of stuff with the NFL rankings, March Madness stuff. They did political races. Oh, but it's owned by ESPN, and then it's owned by Disney as well.
Isn't everything owned by Disney at this point?
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to see their rankings on the Disney characters more than anything. I think.
If you're not owned by Amazon by now.
Pretty much. Amazon, Apple, Google, and Disney. That's all you need. It's all it's going to be pretty soon.
But it was
Anywho.
interesting. Or sorry, it's just gonna rank the USL teams, but they said it was the highest ranked at 331 in the world, which put them as the 14th best MLS team behind the Union and ahead of the Dynamo. And by comparison, Atlanta United was their highest ranked MLS team in the world at 100 world, which would be about equivalent of the 7th tier of the 7th ranked team in English Championship.
Careful of your words there. It wouldn't be 7th tier.
Or 7th. It
know.
would be placed 7th in the English Championship.
Wow, crazy. I love that debate, that MLS versus championship debate. I think it's interesting. Do you guys think that's accurate? Would you agree with that?
I would say that a good number of the MLS sides could be competitive in the championship, yes.
Yeah, but not winners per se.
Yeah, they feel like a mid-table championship team for the good MLS teams.
Yeah.
That seems to be a common answer. I think I agree with it too. Anyway, USL.
Other news we've got tonight looks like some news out of Greenville. The USL Division 3 team some branding's been announced. They're going to be the Greenville Triumph SC. What do you guys think about that?
Better than bold.
Exactly.
I was gonna say better than disappointment. You go Triumph at least.
Bold is the new standard for bad, unfortunately. It's going to be that way for a little while.
I thought the logo looked clean, though.
Yeah, it did. I liked it. I think it got the approval of Mike Pendleton even, so that's good.
That's some high praise.
I like the colors. I think now that I'm gonna bring it up now, but I think I was a fan of the colors when I saw it.
Yeah, it's green and blue. The green's a little bit bright. It's almost kind of like the OKC Energy, but a totally different vibe from the logo itself, so it totally works. I liked it.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
It had me reminiscent of Seattle, actually.
Yeah, a lot of people said Seattle as well. Yeah.
Speaking of Greenville, it looks like they are expected to sign John Harkes potentially as their first head coach.
Man, isn't that surprising?
All these names keep coming back.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's just like he left early from FC Cincinnati and we never got a straight answer as to why, and people just said maybe it was just disagreements between him and the front office, but boy, like hopefully they had a good conversation with the front office of FC Cincinnati before they hired him, because John Harkes now has not the greatest record of just everything, life, I guess, basically, as far as it's going to go.
He's failing at life.
I would say so, but I don't know. I don't know how far we want to go with that, but I think I would think twice about
massive gift for Greenville.
I think he was an okay coach for Cincinnati when he was there, right? I mean, their record was pretty good. Wasn't bad, that's for sure. They were an attacking side, especially at that time. They were very attacking compared to some.
I mean, in terms of just management, this is a really good signing for Greenville just to get like a very coach with a lot of name recognition built up behind him.
True.
Speaking of teams that are expected to have their first head coaches announced in relatively short order, looks like Birmingham Legion is expected to sign Tom Sowen. Is that how you pronounce his name? Or Sohn? I don't know. Soehn. I don't want to butcher it any more than that. So potentially the first manager for Birmingham Legion there.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about this guy, unfortunately. He serves as a scout for the Columbus Crew right now, is kind of the first thing that pops up when you look him up. Does anyone else know anything about him?
He's got some interim coaching stuff, some assistant coaching stuff for a few teams in MLS, but other than that, like, I don't think so.
He was drafted by the Dallas Burn back in 1996 MLS inaugural draft, so that's interesting.
We'll have Chandler Houghton to help build his team around.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that Birmingham, man, the American version is Birmingham. The British version is Birmingham. I got to keep correcting myself, and I think all of USL fans should start paying attention to that, actually. Yeah, Birmingham has been doing a very good job so far. The logo is good. Signing Chandler Houghton was a really good move, and I think they're on the right track. So give them some maybe, I would say give them a little bit of leeway, and maybe they made the right choice here. I'm also seeing that he was an assistant to Bob Bradley at the Fire. And he was also an assistant at DC United, so he kind of needs his own team. It looks like for the first time. So
you're saying he was drafted by the Burn and then worked for the Fire?
Right.
He's a hot candidate, from what I heard.
Hey.
Yes. Oh, good to have you here, Carson.
Yeah, no, I'm like that one guy. Like I'll come in, I'm a fan favorite, and then just disappear for like months, and then pop back up.
Is that self-declared fan favorite?
I was gonna say what fan? What fans?
You know, I have family and friends and a wife.
Yeah,
that's right. You are married now. How's married life?
Not bad. Yeah, no, I feel like I got married a while ago, but haven't talked to you guys since. But no, married life is good. Can't complain.
I've been married for over 7 years.
I'm
sure I'll be married for 7 more.
Still good.
It is, yeah. Let's see. The last bit of news here: New York City FC loan Saad Abdul Salam to Phoenix Rising. He made 64 appearances for Sporting Kansas City over a couple seasons. He's made 4 appearances for New York City FC. He has 2 assists for the club. So how about that? Looks like Phoenix Rising getting some MLS stuff there for them, or talent or whatever.
I think Harry was a little hurt that NYCFC didn't send him to San Antonio. He was a little personally hurt by that.
Yeah, isn't that their affiliate?
Yeah.
Oh,
Why would they loan him to somebody else? I don't get that.
Because NYCFC is very poor at maintaining their affiliation deals. When they had their final season with the Hammerheads, they didn't send a single player down to us during that year.
I liken it to St. Louis FC. St. Louis FC almost partnered with Minnesota this year and kind of they pulled the plug at some point. It felt like it was going to happen and then it didn't. And I think NYC was the same way. They were like, they were going to affiliate, and then instead of pulling the plug, they just went through with it and they just chose not to use it. It's just been pointless. Pretty much, Ryan, all of their affiliations have been terrible and unused.
There was 1 year with the Hammerheads in 2015 during our affiliation. We had a match against the New York Red Bulls too that got our first win of that season, one of only 3, where they loaned like 9 of their own players to the Hammerheads for that match because the Hammerheads were playing up in New Jersey at the time. So like it wasn't truly a Hammerheads victory since half the team was New York City reserve players. But outside of that, they just signed a few of our players like post a couple seasons, but like it wasn't anything that ever benefited us in year. It was just more of like doing trials. Like Andre Rawls, who is currently with Orange County, is a former Hammerhead player who got trials with NYCFC. But no, it doesn't seem like they ever had like a truly strong one. And I'm curious if we'd ever reach a point with MLS and USL, if they would ever say that if a team doesn't have an MLS2 team, there would be nothing requiring them to do an affiliation deal if they don't want to, because it almost seemed like they just say it for what it is. And if there's no affiliation in place, don't put one down on paper if it's not going to show if it doesn't show up on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is they signed Ibiaga from San Antonio, and then I think the kid Lopez for San Antonio now. I don't think he's on loan. I think he might have got cut by NYCFC and went to San Antonio. So I don't know if it was like we don't want to keep you around, but we'll send you down there and hopefully work your way back. But
I like that. So actually, it sounds like even with as far away ago as the Hammerheads, it was more of the opposite of two teams where they're actually giving guys a chance on the next level rather than sending them guys down constantly. It's kind of interesting, actually.
I don't think New York City FC is the only side that does this like more one-way street type thing. You know, I know in 2014 when the Timbers had their first affiliation with Sacramento for that 1 year, like San Jose kind of like got involved, but then didn't send over like anybody that season. It was all just Portland players. I think they got loaned down 2, 3, or 4 of them. I don't remember how many. And then we're just like, well, screw that. We'll make our own team. But there's other teams out there. They're just like, well, I'll do it because everybody else is doing it. But I don't particularly care who I send to this other team on the other side of the country or wherever it's going to be, you know, down the coast or out in the Midwest or on the opposite coast, and whatever benefits me. I know that Colorado, like, do they loan anybody to whoever they're affiliated with? Because I know they're affiliated with somebody for like a long ways away. But I don't know if they loan anybody or just use it and abuse it, you know?
Yeah, so they're affiliated with Charlotte, and I think they do send guys down from time to time.
Colorado.
Yeah. But even Colorado Springs has a player or two of Colorado Rapids. So, and man, last time I watched them play, they had a defensive midfielder. I forgot his name, but he looks kind of hippie-ish. I think he's got dreadlocks or something like that. And man, I forgot his name, but he was very, very good. And so,
Kyle Beckerman.
Yeah, it's Kyle Beckerman. Maybe he didn't come from Colorado. No, he came from Orlando.
Now he cut his hair.
I take that back. I'm wrong.
Okay.
First time for everything.
No, it's like the millionth.
Well, we've got games did happen. I assure you, they actually happened. There were results. And we've got a lot of time to talk about them, so let's do that. How about that?
Perfect.
Not so much of the news. Let's go through the games. First off, for week 22, Atlanta United 2-1, Ottawa Fury 1. Ottawa Fury scoring 2 goals in a 1-1 draw. Oliveira gets the Ottawa's goal in the 10th minute after Edison Edwards put an own goal away for Atlanta in the 3rd. After that, there wasn't much going on after that. That was it for the goals. Did anybody watch this game?
I watched some of the second iteration of this game. Ryan, you wanna tell us what happened here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. So the first 44 minutes was played on June 16th at Corey Field before there was a rain delay, and eventually that match was then called off. But since it ended before halftime, they had to come back and play that second half. So they did the 1 minute of 45 plus stoppage time, and then played the second half at Fifth Third Bank Stadium in Kennesaw.
Wait, was it a half-hour break after they did the 1 minute in stoppage time?
I don't know what the break was. He was just watching parts of the second half. And I was asking Pony about this, and I was curious, was this the first USL match that have 2 different halves played of the same match at different stadiums?
Pony, is he here?
Yeah, I'm here. I mean, I don't. That's not something I tracked, but I think it is because it seems so unusual. Most of the time when there's a delay, it finishes on the next day or so, not a month and a half later.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see how many of the players on Atlanta that were available for the first half are actually on the roster for the second half.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wouldn't they need to keep the same roster if at all possible?
I don't know if it's even possible to do that, especially with a team like them.
Or that length of time between the first half, I guess. So here's my question. So was it just 44 minutes played on June 16th, or did they finish the first half on June 16th?
No, it wasn't halftime. They actually had a halftime a minute into the game.
So they literally had to finish 1 minute of the first half, and then if it took another 15-minute break, that's ridiculous.
It was pretty amazing.
That's amazing. This is just, you can't make this stuff up.
But I know that the USL, I think the USL has a rule, unless I'm thinking about MLS, but somebody has a rule where if a game is called off after the 70th minute, the result stands. But before the 70th minute, I don't know if you have the option to replay or continue or whatever. I just know that it seems like if they had finished the first half and then canceled, they still would have had to go back and play it to at least reach the 70-minute mark.
Yeah, they would have. I think that changed at the beginning of last season. I remember that was a USL rule that they changed because I think the call off used to be a shorter amount of time, and I think they tried to make it a little bit longer so that it was, I don't know, more legit. That could be debated, I suppose, but.
Yeah.
And honestly, this continuation was pretty uneventful. There was not a single shot on target in the second half of this match. Ottawa took 3 shots in the entire second half. Atlanta took 6. But although, I mean, there's only 5 fouls conceded from Atlanta, but I would definitely have to go back and check if they have the same roster from the previous one. I'd be more curious if the 3,596 people from the first match wanted to make the trip to the second one.
Not likely.
Not like
Probably not. I bet you as a player is just going like this seems ridiculous. Like, let's just kick the ball back and forth and just finish the clock.
Right.
I'm sure both sides were probably happy with a 1-1 draw.
No kidding.
So up next we had Bethlehem Steel handing Charlotte Independence a 3-0 defeat. Bethlehem Steel goals from James Chambers in the 7th minute, Omar Holness in the 74th, and Drew Skundrich, I'm assuming after the 74th minute, because Ryan, you didn't put a time stamp on his goal.
Oh, call him out. Ouch.
I don't know. Well, I didn't watch the game, so I don't know when it actually occurred. But so there was 3 goals there. What was that?
My mistake on that one.
It's okay. I'm just letting people know. I don't know what time the goal was scored, but it was probably after the 74th minute because it's usually how it goes, right? In order. Anybody want to talk about this one? I know this would be
89th.
Evan's thing. Evan's gone. So Carson, did you watch it?
I did not, and anybody who covers Bethlehem Steel is stupid and ugly.
Oh,
I think anybody that covers Bethlehem Steel is a good, lovely person.
Now, I would say has poor taste in music. Me and Evan had a couple musical debates recently, but
oh my gosh. I love Evan's taste in music, but I'm not necessarily I like really cheesy music. So no, I talked to Evan about this game and I saw the highlights, and the highlights are ugly. And I think the game might have been uglier. I think Charlotte had a really bad game. And Evan was saying how they just seemed either tired or they're just not good. He wasn't necessarily decided on one or the other, but Charlotte definitely didn't look good in this game. Only 40% possession for Charlotte, and Bethlehem seemed to score kind of easy, nice goals. You know, like they were not trying that hard to score really awesome looking goals. But one thing to say about this is I wish Evan was here to ask him, but Omar Holness scored a goal, and I don't know how long he's been playing, but he's been injured most of the season. A guy from RSL who's really quality midfielder. So it's cool that he probably hasn't been playing very long, and he got a goal already. So that's a good thing for them.
I think he was like coming off of an injury and then got injured again, if I remember right, at the beginning of the season. So he's had a lot of injury problems. So it is good to see him on the field getting goals because he's a talented player.
Yeah, he's equivalent to one of those, like, not Portillo, because Portillo is amazing, but just like a two-side that's a hybrid, pulling in some veteran guys who are very talented to kind of supplement the young kids.
And this was a game that Bethlehem Steel pretty much dominated every aspect, like 60% possession lead, 21 shots to 17 lead. They led in shots on target. They led on clearances. They led on fouls conceded. They led on goals. They got all 3 points. Everything went Steel's way, I think, on this match.
Yeah, Charlotte's just not good. I think they've won one of their last 12 games now.
It's been bad, especially as of late, and they started a little bit bad. And literally this season for them, the only bright spot was like 2 or 3 games that they won very handily toward the middle of the season. Pony, any thoughts on why that happened, or Ryan?
Yeah, I think their defense has been a problem. On those games they won, they've all been either only allowing 1 goal or shutouts, and they're a team who doesn't seem to have the offense to be able to handle their defensive qualities, I guess, lackings.
So wasn't Charlotte in top of the East at one point in the season?
I think so. They won their first few games.
Yeah.
They won 2 of their first 3 for Ottawa 2-0 over Toronto. Then they had a 2-2 draw against Atlanta United. But over their last 12 matches, they've had 1 win.
So they beat the teams that are bad, really, really bad, and then became a really bad team themselves.
Well, they also beat Cincinnati and Nashville. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Never mind. I take
Cincinnati
that back.
had 1-0 against Nashville, which is their last win. And Charlotte's also at their lowest all-time ELO rating in club history at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Man, if I was a Cincinnati fan, or having lost to Charlotte, I'd be so embarrassed. Whew, boy,
losing by 3 goals too.
Oh God, I lost by 3. Man, who does that? Jeez.
I will also say that
I'd like to point out I'm not the one bashing Cincinnati right now.
Normally Charlotte is a team that Mike Jeffries, their coach, kind of insists that they play out of the back no matter what, and that's what makes this 40% especially weird. So I don't know if he changed their tactics or they just had an especially terrible day. So maybe something to watch if they've changed their tactics and they're not necessarily playing out of the back constantly.
Sometimes when you have bad results, I think coaches might look to make a change or to get something. So that could have happened.
Right.
But like you said, it also could have just been a bad day. Those bad days happen every once in a while.
For more information, ask the Soccer Goose.
Yeah. Good follow there. All right, up next, Tampa Bay Rowdies and Charleston Battery, 0-0 draw. So there was that one. And Ryan, why don't you tell us about it since you watched it on ESPN News?
Vacation in Hilton Head, and they had it showing on one of the restaurants right on the beach. So it's fun just being able to watch it. But it was an interesting match. It had Tampa Bay Rowdies leading the shot battle at 14-11, but it was only 2-1 in shots on target with the Rowdies' advantage in that one. And you had 27-14 clearance lead for Charleston and 35 crosses from Tampa Bay on the night. It seemed like it as a 0-0 result. I think both teams are. I think Charleston is probably disappointed they weren't able to take points here, especially against this somewhat weak Rowdy side this season. But with as low shots on target as there were, having no goals is unsurprising.
I actually watched this one too, and it was, I don't know, it was weird. It was a battle. It was going back and forth and just seemed like you didn't really get a feeling someone was going to score at any minute. I don't really know how to explain what it was, especially because you think both teams have the potential to really beat the other one down if they had a good game. So it was just a weird game. Both teams are confusing for me this year.
I've seen games like that where, 3, 4, 5 minutes in, you're like, this game's going to end 0-0 because nobody's showing anything that's going to convince me otherwise. And I've watched a game where it actually ended 0-0, and I was like, I want 90 minutes of my life back.
Yeah.
It was not entertaining. Up next, Tulsa Roughnecks drop a 3-0 result to OKC Energy. OKC get the goals from Adam Jean in the 45th, Christian Valesky in the 49th, and Alex Dixon converts a PK in the 79th minute. Oklahoma City had led in shots and shots on target, had the lead in clearances, but Tulsa led 55-44% in possession. So
you guys know this is the Howler game, right? Where the goalkeeper kind of came out. What did he do?
Yeah,
he bounced the ball.
He tried to. Was it Serta? Did he try to make a move around someone?
That's it. Yeah, that's what it was.
He tried to be in the top 10 for sure, I think.
Yeah, he tried to make a move, really failed miserably, and it was just an open goal for the guy right outside the box. So that was bad.
Was it Jean or Valesky that was Valesky that converted it? Didn't he?
No, but the Valesky conversion, the Valesky goal was also like he fell over the opposite direction Valesky was shooting. So it was just a bad game for him. I felt terrible for him. He's not actually that bad, but I feel like every goalkeeper has a game like that at some point in their life.
That's unfortunate, and especially against a rival, like an in-state rival like that. That's gotta sting a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, and especially Tulsa being in the shape that they're in right now. That kind of is like the cherry on top, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean Tulsa haven't really been able to pull themselves out of their doldrums this season, but man, Oklahoma City Energy sure did, didn't they?
Yes.
Up slowly, yeah.
I don't know where they I guess they must have signed a couple players. I mean, they really pulled everything out and went straight. They've been having some good results as of recently, and this one's another one to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is Valesky for sure. I mean, he's a steady, hardworking striker who isn't going to miss a lot, and he's going to work his butt off for you. And I think that's helped because they had a lot of faith in Jose Angulo this year, and they mutually parted ways like very relatively early in the season, and so they kind of had nobody for a while. And that trade with St. Louis, I think, is paid off for them at least to get them up to 12th places where they are now and climbing. 2 wins in the last 2 games.
So Pony, rankings, projections for Oklahoma City Energy, do you think are they based on what you've got set to make the playoffs or not?
No, they're kind of in a tie with the Colorado Springs Fresno group, which the teams that could maybe make it, but I don't think they're going to make it.
They'd have to go on a little bit of a better run than they are now.
Yeah, they're probably going to need to win most of the remaining games.
Wow, man,
the bubble looks like it's going to be about 50 points for both East and West.
Oh wow,
crazy. There was it's like some seasons, 2, 3, 4 seasons ago, where like the top seed in one conference didn't even got like 40 something points.
Well, they're also playing an extra about 7 or 8 games nowadays.
It's also true. A lot more games.
The season would be about over right now if we went back 5 years.
That's true. All right. So up next, we've got Real Monarchs beating Reno 2-1. Looks like all the activity was in the first half. Real Monarchs getting goals from Charlie Adams in the 10th minute, Mikhail Chang in the 41st. Reno getting a goal from Brian Brown in the 9th. Salt Lake City did lead possession, but Reno beat them out on shots and shots on target. However, Salt Lake City, gets what matters, all 3 points. And I believe that this is now the second loss in a row for Reno.
Yeah, they lost to St. Louis last week, but they went down to 10 men in the 33rd minute, and I think they only lost by a goal. So they put up a really, really good fight where I actually thought they were going to go on a really good run. But unfortunately, they followed up a 10-man loss to St. Louis with a loss to Real Monarchs. So that's a tough run right there. So watch them for the rest of the season, though, because they're very good. Weehan is starting with, I forgot the name of their kind of removed striker that has 1 million assists as well. So they're a really good team throughout the last stretch of the season.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, Salt Lake City, they've turned things around. They had a couple losses there, but looks like they're getting back in the win column, and they're still top of the West. So you can't beat yourself up too much from losing to the best team in the West right now.
Exactly. They're a good team. I really was scared to death St. Louis was going to lose to them with 10 men because they gave up a shorthanded goal on top of that. It was just pathetic.
Well, you had Reno going on a streak of 16 unbeaten, scoring in the last 14 matches, and only now have lost 2 in a row. So
exactly.
It's not panic time yet for the people in the Silver State.
Nope.
Up next, LA Galaxy 2 gets 2 goals. Fresno gets 1. All this activity in the second half. Los Dos scoring in the 50th and 72nd minute. Frank Lopez with the brace. Fresno getting the consolation goal from Christian Cheney in the 90th minute. Pretty crazy because Fresno had 25 total shots, only 5 of them on target, though, unfortunately. So probably more Fresno failing to get shots on target than total shots taken. Perhaps. Anyone want to comment on this match?
Yeah, this is probably going to be about the end of the season for Fresno. I think they needed these 3 points against a team who's not going to be in the playoffs. But they still looked okay. They're, like you said, they're a team who had problems finishing. There are a few chances they probably should have converted. They had one I think it was off the post in the second half that probably would have been goal of the week had it gone in. But I don't know. It's one of those. It's a team they have potential to get better quickly next year. It's just a matter of if they manage to pull it off or not.
They're another team that they didn't really sign a lot of extra guys to, where a lot of other clubs did. And, they had some needs in the finishing department, and they just didn't go get those guys. So, like Pony said, I agree that they've got a really good thing to build on. And I think they have a good idea what they need next year. And if they make the right decisions, they're going to be really scary.
Right. I mean, they have quality wins too. They've beat Sacramento, they've beat Phoenix, they've beat Swope Park. They're not. I mean, when they show up to play, they are a very good team. It's just way too inconsistent.
Yeah, and Pony, you were really high on their midfield, and they weren't players that I was familiar with at the time. Is that a team you've watched and been able to kind of figure out what happened there? I'm not calling you out. I'm just kind of curious.
I mean, I think their midfield is still pretty solid. It's not quite as good as I was hoping it would be, but I think a lot of it's due to their front and back lines they're just average at best type ones. They don't have that great striker. They don't have those top defenders. They have a very talented mid, and that's where the significantly above average ends.
Yep.
And even then, they're not bad. They're going to probably be in that battle for the 10th seed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
10th spot.
I'm scared because right above that group you mentioned, I think St. Louis is in the group where you think they'll barely make it into the playoffs, and they have a run this week coming up where they play. They play Sacramento on Wednesday and they play Fresno on Saturday, and that's just a really scary bye week lineup there.
Yeah, it's a good group. It's going to be, looks like by projections, there'll be two of Swope Park, Portland, and St. Louis making the playoffs with one missing.
Yeah.
Going on to the next match, it's one with quite a lot of goals, so it's always that's the one worth watching. New York Red Bulls 2, 4 goals. Louisville City 6. This was a really good game. So New York went up, I think, 2-0 to begin with. Tenari scoring in the 7th minute, Cutler scoring in the 14th, and then Louisville started to come back a little bit. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Ilija Ilic. I apologize if I'm slaughtering his name. He scores in the 18th. He scores in the 18th minute, and then from there it just goes 5 unanswered from Louisville. So Lancaster scores in the 43rd. George Davis scores in the 48th. Illich scores in the 53rd. Lancaster scores again in the 63rd minute. And then Lancaster finishes off his hat trick in the 88th. And I think that was all 6 goals. New York had 2 in towards the end. Aguinaga in the 80th, and Indam or whatever, he got a PK in the 90th minute. So really good performance from Louisville on that one.
Nice defensive match, it looked like.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what I was gonna say is it was good, I suppose, in an attacking way. I'm sure that game was super exciting. I was too busy to watch it, but I worry that both these teams, who have a good history, of course, of performing and doing well in the playoffs now, but how well can they do without defending? If either of them face off against Pittsburgh, what's that game going to look like, and who's going to come out the winner? This is also the second game, I believe, and in the first game with a decent amount of time that John Hackworth, the new coach for Louisville, was in charge. And so are we seeing a change, an attacking change for Louisville, who usually defends really well? And is this something that's going to keep going, or is this just a product of playing New York Red Bulls where you just got to outscore them?
I kind of lean towards it just being it was New York.
Yeah.
New York is basically a team who's just is that we dare you we're going to let you score 3 goals and we'll score 5 on you. So who cares? And sometimes it goes down like that.
Yeah, it's the 3rd game this season, I believe, that's had 10 total goals. Oklahoma City versus Las Vegas on July 11th was a 6-4 game, except the home side won that version of it. And then I know T2 beat LA2 7-3. earlier on in the season was the first 10-goal game. So there are teams out there that are just like, we can score. Games like this, though, I mean, defenses win championships. Goals entertain, but defenses win championships. So
I mean, the match prior to this one between Louisville and New York Red Bull 2 on June 30th was still another 3-3 result. So I guess this is just more of what kind of connects them. I mean, it was 17-17 in the shot battle, but I think what's going to be more interesting is how they end up in the playoffs. Louisville is currently 4th in the Eastern Conference, with New York being 5th, which would set up another rematch between the two, and a very dangerous track the semifinals for whoever makes it out of the 8 seed.
Yeah, and this is the second season in a row that New York has had one of those games. Remember, very end of the season, they had a 6-5 game to basically knock out Orlando from playoff contention.
Wow.
Which I think is still the USL record for most goals in a game.
So that's what I was asking Ryan on the chat about. Was I know 11 goals is the lead. Is that game? I guess.
I think there was
There might
another
have been another,
Harrisburg one.
Okay.
Yeah, the really good game from 5 years ago that everyone needs to go back and watch if you haven't seen it. Yeah, 2015. Pittsburgh 6, Harrisburg 5. That is a great game.
That's funny.
Also, speaking of Louisville City, Hackworth hasn't coached yet. He apparently just arrived in town today. So,
okay.
That Louisville City win was whoever's interim right now. I think it's just the players, right?
Yeah, 2 players, I think.
Well, I wonder so few goals were scored. Hackworth wasn't there yet.
I actually thought it was going to get boring. It actually did get me a little excited that that happened to a certain extent, but yeah.
Well, I mean, Cameron Lancaster got himself a hat trick. Illich, again, if I'm pronouncing that right, got a brace. And Lancaster also got an assist to add on to his hat trick in a winning fashion. So, I will be shocked if he doesn't get player of the week this week. But moving on, Nashville 2, Ottawa Fury 0. Nashville goals from Matt LaGrassa in the 31st, Brandon Allen converting the PK in the 59th. Looks like a much-needed win for the Tennessee side. Any comments, discussion from you guys on this game?
A clean sheet and 2 goals scored. I mean, what more can Nashville ask for? They should try to do this every single game, and they might win every single game if they do it every time.
So you're saying if they score goals and get a shutout every game, they might win every game?
Sorry. I'm really out of it today.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton.
If they can pull off,
that's Austin bold.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing with Nashville has been all season, their defense has been great, but their attack hasn't scored, even adding Brandon Allen. So definitely nice for them to get the clean sheet and score, because you can get a clean sheet and not win, but I'm pretty sure if you score and get a clean sheet, you're guaranteed a victory.
It's a guarantee.
Yeah, I was looking at Nashville. They've only lost 1 game where they scored this season.
Oh, wow.
And 8 of Nashville's 9 wins this year are shutouts.
They just got to score.
Score and get a shutout.
Good strategy, everyone. Give it a shot.
I feel like that's got to be the title of the episode, right?
It's got to be.
Score and get a shutout? I think so.
And you might win.
I'll talk to you guys later.
No, you're here all night. You're here all night. Come on. So they had a good crowd on hand for the match too. 8,694. So I think there's people excited for soccer in Nashville. It's good to see you.
It is good to see.
Up next, Charleston Battery 1, Atlanta United 2-0. Oh, that one. This is the first 2 thing to throw me off. So Charleston Battery scored 1 goal. Atlanta United 2 got none. Just to be clear, the only goal in the game came from Ian Svantessen. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. Converts PK in the 41st minute. What were you going to say?
I was going to say I didn't know who Atlanta United 2 was. I know who ATL UTD 2 was, but I'm glad we can clarify that. But now for me, this was the most special part of the night was Mike Anhauser getting honored. that dude's been around. I mean, 25 years. Jonathan Ace for BGN Written wrote a great article about that, and just all the respect. They played a couple of videos, and Ozzy Alonso. Shout out to the Sounders despite Big Kev. A lot of the players were chiming in, talking about how influential it was in their career. And the year I covered them, players couldn't say enough good things about them.
Well, that's cool. And certainly also Charleston doesn't spell their team name with alphabet soup, so that's always a good thing too.
Also true. Can confirm.
We've talked about it this season. I mean, no one thought Charleston was going to be anything this year, and that coach just finds ways to win, and it's not always the same things. I've been really impressed with what he's done, especially this year.
Yeah, if it's not Bob Lilly for Coach of the Year, I think it's going here. I don't see really any other option.
I wouldn't argue with that at all.
Yeah, there's no argument here. That seems to be. There's nobody else, nobody anywhere in any city on the East Coast who has a better coach, to clarify, than those two we've talked about.
If you look at it, even just the talent that Charleston lost, I feel like if you put that in front of someone and said, hey, this would be their record at this point of the season or at the end of the season, I feel like that would be he's a shoo-in for Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Yep. So up next, it's another shutout for Tampa Bay Rowdies, just in the wrong direction for fans of that team. Tampa Bay losing 2-0 to North Carolina. North Carolina getting goals from Marcel Canziora in the 65th minute, Daniel Rios in the 78th minute. Canziora's goal, if I'm pronouncing that correct, God, I don't know. That was the 1,000th goal of the 2018 USL season. How about that?
It's a lot
per the league. Per the league, they say that was 1,000th goal, to clarify.
I was preparing to kind of talk about Las Vegas, talk to Thomas Viola on the show that Carson is also on, the Las Vegas Soccer Betting Hour. I got it right that time.
Yep.
And while I was doing that, I was looking at some of the attacking stats, and North Carolina has a lot of good stats, and they're not popping up for me right now. But I think it's passing. They have the second most passes in USL, right behind big surprise, Swope Park Rangers. Their passing accuracy is 82%. They're not scoring goals like they should. To combine with that, so you could argue that perhaps it's kind of a pointless possession stat where it's not paying off right now. But they're trying to play the right way. They're trying to score goals off of possession. I respect that, but hopefully they can figure out the goals, or they start showing up later in the season as we keep going here. But they haven't had a good run of games as of most recently.
Even then, they're still hanging around my playoff picture. They're definitely looking like they could easily make a run and steal a bottom spot.
I was looking at the wrong line. I was looking at Charlotte Independence. They have a draw, a win, a win, a draw, a win in the last 5. They're doing really well. So it is.
That's they're doing okay right now.
Yeah, sorry about that.
North Carolina was one we're talking about, right? They are unbeaten in their last 6.
Are they? Do you have a stat for them as far as making the playoffs, Pony? What do you think?
Let's see. I have them finishing 10th, but that Ottawa, New York, Bethlehem, and now Carolina is a pretty tight pack. Probably looking at 2 of them make it, 2 of them miss.
Interesting.
Well, hopefully we'll see how that goes. Up next, Swope Park Rangers losing to Portland Timbers 2-0. So that is the home side 0, the 2 side with 2 goals. Portland getting goals from Jeremy Ababasi in the 7th minute, Jack Barnby converting the PK in the 55th. I don't think a single one of us, myself included, saw Portland Timbers getting their first shutout since like June 9th, I think. And particularly away. I think most of us had this game pegged at a 2-2 draw, if I remember right. It was a good win for Portland. This is one that they're going to really need to kind of solidify and try to like stay in the playoff picture, because before this match, Swope Park and T2 were tied on points. T2 had the tiebreaker on games 1, and so they held 7th place. Swope Park Ranger in 8th. So this puts 3 points between those two teams, and it's probably a desperately needed win for Portland to kind of hold on to what might be their first playoff appearance. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely panic time for Swope Park. They're now winless in 7 games. They lost 5 of those. Their next 2 are Reno and San Antonio. So it's not going to get any easier for them.
No, it's certainly not.
They don't look like the team that the last few seasons kind of came in as like the 4th seed and just went on a good run. They don't look at all that good.
And when you have teams like St. Louis and some of the other sides that are biting on their heels, Swope Park really can't afford to lose any points like they did, especially against the teams immediately surrounding them in the table, like T2 and who's in 9th right now.
St.
Louis.
St. Louis. Well, we'll be talking about St. Louis the game after next. So
San Antonio's right above them, and they don't look to be slowing down. I know they just lost, but they still look really good. So
yeah, San Antonio's probably making the playoffs.
My only worry about Swope Park Rangers is that they have sent so many guys up that if they actually care about Swope Park Rangers, they're going to send them down just to make the playoffs. They're going to send a lot of those young kids back down to win. But I don't know if they're going to do that. They might even need those young kids at this point. So
I think they need them because I think injuries and other stuff have necessitated that they've brought players up. Going through a lot of their depth, I think. I could be wrong.
These kids, some of them have been really proving themselves. I know people are really happy with what Jalen Lindsey's been doing with his time. So, props to them for doing it.
The other thing with Kansas City and Portland and the MLS sides will be facing each other this Saturday. So the T2 made the trip out this past weekend, and then this coming weekend, the first team's going to be making the trip out to Kansas City. And I will actually be there for that match. So I'm looking forward to actually being my first trip to Kansas City.
Oh, nice. I love Kansas City.
Never been there. Looking forward to it.
Peachtree Buffet is my #1 suggestion there.
Now, the airport in Kansas City is on the Missouri side, right?
Yeah.
So this will actually officially, I will set my foot on Missouri ground so I can check that off as a state I have been to, and I can also then check off Kansas, 2 new states I've never been to.
I had a major panic moment when I was booking my flight there. My cousin and I went out there in 2016, I think, and so I go through and I think I booked the flight. You land in Missouri, and then I was like, oh crap, it's I'm want to go to Kansas City, Kansas. I was like, I wonder how far away it is. It's 20 minutes apart. So.
Yeah.
It was the same. Basically.
It's a really weird city too, in that the border, usually there's some kind of geographical something separating, a city. When a city is on two different states, there's usually a river or something that really splits it. You have no idea you're crossing.
No, it's the middle of a random highway, and you're like, oh, I'm in Kansas now, cool.
And especially if you take back roads, sometimes those back roads will weave in and out of Kansas and Missouri the whole time. It's funny.
Good time. What was that?
Good town, though. Please maybe do that buffet because I haven't heard of that, Carson. I'm curious. I've never had it, and I've been to a lot of Kansas City restaurants. But
I stumbled into that 2 years ago. It's all soul food, and it's $12 maybe, and it's delicious.
Where is this at, and how do I get into it?
It is. I'm trying to think of where it's at in relation to stadiums or anything, but. Peachtree Buffet, I'll text it to you, but it is must stop.
Well, I'm this whole trip for me to going to Kansas City and then going to Dallas right after that. It's all about food.
Obviously.
You can't leave there without getting at least 2 or 3 different restaurants and barbecue. You just have to.
Well, the problem with my trip in Kansas City is I'll be flying in on Saturday, so I'll have 2 or 3 hours before kickoff, and then that night, and then I have to fly to Dallas first thing the next morning, so I won't. Unfortunately, will not have that much time. I think I'll get 1 meal in Kansas City, which is disappointing. But that's the way it worked out for the conference I have to go to in Texas. But I'll have 3 or 4 days in Texas, so I'll be eating the crap out of food down there.
Yeah, they got brisket there too, so you'll be in good shape.
Yep.
Peachtree Buffet is 23.5 miles from Children's Mercy Park in the Missouri side, with Children's Mercy in the Kansas side.
There you go.
Well, it's a good thing I rented a car. Anyway, up next, we've got Oklahoma. So Tulsa Roughnecks 2, Colorado Springs 1. Tulsa getting a win there. They got goals from Michael Gamble in the 55th, Joaquin Rivas in the 71st. Colorado Springs got their one goal from Taylor Hunter in the 45th. Did anyone catch this match?
No, but shocking. First of all, awesome, Tulsa. You won a game. I love it. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for the roustabouts. Those guys deserve a win. They've been hanging in there this year. And no surprise that Joaquin Rivas got one of those goals for the win. No surprise at all.
A come from behind win too. I mean, they went down in the 45th minute, and they came back and won 2-1. So that's pretty good. But I believe this is Tulsa's only second win of this whole season.
Correct.
Right? So Tulsa and Toronto both have 2 wins this year so far. Who ends with more wins?
Tulsa. I'm going with Tulsa. It's a hard Tulsa choice there.
I don't think no one wins in this competition. It's just who loses less.
That's probably true. So, but here's a more important question. Do you think either side get more than 3 wins this season? Does either team have 2 more wins in them so they don't get only 3 wins, which was how many wins that T2 got last season in the second worst USL season ever?
It's how many wins the Hammerheads had in 2015.
Oh, that's not a good way to put that. That's scary.
3 wins in one season is bad. Very, very bad.
And
Tulsa should get 3 because they still have Seattle twice.
Okay, they have a good chance. I have a couple thoughts here. One of them being Colorado Springs must be their fans must be ticked because Colorado had no business losing that game. And they can't lose right now in the situation they're in and how close we are to the end of the season.
Well, it was over the road. Colorado Springs is bad on the road. They only have 2 road wins.
Yeah.
But this, I think, like with Fresno, this was a loss that basically is going to cost them anything beyond a miracle finish. That's the only way they're going to make the playoffs now, I think, is they need to win almost all their final games.
Yeah, I'm looking at Colorado Springs' record, and they actually have the second most losses in the Western Conference, only lower than Seattle.
So they're winning all their home games, losing all their away games, and then sprinkling some draws, huh?
Yeah.
But they still have more road wins than Tulsa and Toronto have wins all year.
Ah.
Right.
And I'm looking ahead at Colorado Springs. I think they're done against still Phoenix twice and Salt Lake twice.
Yep.
Yeah. Put a fork in
Do
them.
it.
That's rough. That
Wah, wah.
Roughnecks.
That's another thought I had, and we don't necessarily need to go into it tonight, but something like with D3 coming, I know we always talk about 2 sides going down, but if Tulsa is kind of holding back that standard, which they are this year. Last year was a bit of a bump, but the year before that was pretty ugly as well. Is that a team that should drop down, even for their own sake, perhaps?
They go back and forth. The first year they were decent. I think they just barely missed playoffs, and they had the horrible year. Then they made the playoffs, I believe, last year. Then they were doing horrible looking this year. So if the things hold true, they're going to be somewhere between a 7 and 8 seed, 9 seed next season.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So let's see. Up next, St. Louis FC kicking the pants out of Las Vegas Lights 4-1, and we just happen to have Phil and Carson here. St. Louis with goals from Kavita in the 4th minute. Dakris? Is that how it pronounced?
Oh, Kadeem Dakers.
Dakers in the 14th minute. Greg in the 41st. Cox in the 88th. Vegas, their only goal from Omar Salgado, converting the PK in the 19th minute. You two gentlemen discuss.
Go ahead, Phil. You guys won.
I think we just matched up. First of all, St. Louis was really upset that they lost to Vegas 1-0 away. St. Louis can be vulnerable to, just a counterattack or making a slight mistake on the defensive side, even though that seems to be one of their strong points. They will just slip. It'll slip their mind to let in 1 goal, and they sometimes don't have enough attacking power to make up for that. And that's been the way to beat St. Louis this year. And Vegas really did it, and they're a scary team in that way, in that you just never know. Like, they could pop up out of nowhere and score a goal, sometimes 3 goals in a game, and win it. They never seem to. I don't know. They don't. I always say this. They don't seem to have too many too close games. They have a lot of big wins and big losses because they kind of just go all out one way or the other. So this game to me was no different. They really were just kind of, flying around the field and just trying their best to go crazy and get a goal in. And St. Louis just defended well. They kept their cool, and there were a lot of penalties. There was a lot of stoppage, and like I said, they kept their cool and scored a lot of goals and just kept hanging them on over and over. It wasn't like St. Louis to do this. So Carson, I don't know, did you watch the game? How you felt about it?
Yeah, I did. It was a very typical Vegas match. Overall, you had them scoring on a penalty that I thought was quite soft. It was the keeper kind of took down Sammy Ochoa, but it looked like he might have made the save first. Even the broadcast was kind of, split on that. Then I think they were leaning towards it not being a penalty. But yeah, a lot of fouls. Obviously, Garduño gets sent off. And then one thing that has been pretty consistent throughout the season, even when they get a lot of goals scored on him, Ferrinho's been pretty good. He's very aggressive, but watching this match, it easily could have been, 7 goals without some big saves from Ferrinho. But
yeah,
Vegas is chaos and anarchy every match, and this was no different.
He actually, it was interesting to see Corey Herzog kind of took advantage of him coming out of the goal in that last goal with Michael Cox, because St. Louis was actually on a break, and he got the ball and he literally waited for Ferrinho to come out, went around him and passed it in to Michael Cox. Just had to tap it in, and it was really smart move, a very veteran move from a guy like Corey Herzog. It was cool to see him get on the board with an assist. And
yeah, he had a crazy double save on. They had a good counter. I think it was Wall Fall that was actually pushing the.
yes.
And he took a second too long, and then looked like he tried to pass it. Ferrinho tipped the pass, and then had no business getting back to save the eventual shot, and did that. So I always tell people when they ask who to watch for Vegas, it's always Ferrinho.
Oh yeah,
You're guaranteed shenanigans, and then saves 100% of the time.
I love watching him. He's fun, and I got to meet him when we went to. So that was good.
Excellent. Let's see. We'll try to pick it up a little bit here. So OKC Energy 3, Real Monarchs 2. OKC Energy getting a big win against the Western leaders. Valesky scoring in the first minute, Dixon in the 27th, Patterson in the 83rd. Salt Lake City getting goals from Charlie Adams in the 58th and Jack Blake in the 60th. Any quick comments on this match?
Blake was a cracker. He was that was top 10 goal, I think.
Which one?
Jack Blake.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Blake.
I didn't call Jack Blake a cracker. I said his goal was a cracker for him.
Well, you did cut out there a little bit. All I heard was cracker.
That's fair. I wanted to get ahead of the racial storm coming my direction.
It's not good. You know how the internet is. It just disconnects and you just miss words. So
you gotta love Jack Blake getting leaving Tampa Bay the way that they are and going to a game like Real Monarchs and getting time and scoring that kind of goal. That's great. Good for him. I'm mad at him for not doing the Blake down anymore though, because I love it.
Well, he can't do it because he's out there scoring goals. Up next, Seattle Sounders 2 with 3 goals. San Antonio with 2 goals. Rough loss for San Antonio there. Seattle getting a rare win. I'm not going to say Ryan's note down here because I don't want to. Seattle getting goals from Wingo in the 5th and 45th minute. Hoppo in the 68th minute. San Antonio getting an own goal in the 13th minute from Seattle. Guzman scoring in the 24th. David Olson for Seattle receiving a second yellow card in the 77th minute, but they still got all 3 points. So it is a good win for Seattle. kind of surprising that San Antonio still managed to get 2 goals, just on 3 shots on target too, which is pretty crazy. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Did anyone see this? I didn't see this one.
Nope.
So I have a
I
guess.
saw a little bit of the start. I remember it was pouring rain in Tacoma for a big portion of the day before it eventually kind of cleared out into sun. But it definitely seemed like this was a result that Seattle needed with only 2 wins in the last 5. It's just tough. I mean, for the club. I mean, prior to that, they went on a massive or on a pretty sizable losing streak of 6 matches, but they still seem to score pretty frequently. I mean, they had 3 wins in this, or 3 goals in this one, 3 goals in their last win over Vegas, in their last one, which was over Vegas on July 26th. And streak, they had like a 5-3 loss to Los Dos. So definitely seems like this is that scoring this much would eventually lead to 3 points one way or another.
Yeah, Seattle got 3 points. I think that's all about that's all we need to really talk about. Up next, no, we're moving on. We're running out of time anyway. So, Orange County getting 4 goals, Phoenix Rising getting 3. This was a pretty fun game. Watched a little bit of this. Phoenix getting Solomon Asante's getting a hat trick, converting the PK in the 68th minute, and then getting goals in the 73rd and 90th minutes. Not enough to get his side a point or all 3 points, though. Orange County getting goals from Michael Seaton in the 39th and 67th minutes. Anna Voldson padding his Golden Boot campaign with a goal in the 48th minute. Aiden Quinn converting the PK in the 65th minute. Did anybody else want to talk about this one?
Yeah, this was a good one, actually, and I wrote the recap for Orange County. It was a battle of 2 teams holding, each other tight there at the second spot, and it was a pretty solid match. I know that second Asante goal, they marked it as an own goal and then gave it to the guy who sent the cross in, and then finally gave him his just hat trick. So that was a good one.
Yeah, it looks like Enna Voldson. I know that he was tied for the Golden Boot lead with 12 goals when he was tied with Charleston's Guerrera. Now he's still tied for the lead with 13 goals, but this time he's tied with Lancaster of Louisville and Nico Brett from Pittsburgh Riverhounds, as both of those two are, Brett's been doing very well with Pittsburgh. Lancaster obviously got himself a hat trick to kind of close that gap up a bit. So it's fun times, I think, watching all the people scoring goals in the USL. Lots of people up there with between 10 and 13 goals. So,
yeah, Orange County is doing very well for themselves offensively. They have, over the last 6 games, I think they have 17 total goals scored now.
That's good stuff.
Phoenix I don't know if you guys noticed, but Orange County scored their 4 goals, and then Phoenix did their best to catch up at the end. Like, their defending seemed lackluster, like they weren't all that into it, even though they were at home, and this is a win where they kind of need to display that they're the better team over Orange County, and they just didn't really defend well in the first 2/3 of the game, and then scored 3 goals and almost came back at the end. I don't know. I don't know what to think of this other than I don't like what Phoenix Rising would do in the playoffs if this is the way they're going to play.
Well, it seems almost like Asante just kind of tried to pick up the team and drag them to a point at home.
Those goals
and just kind of came up short. But
yeah, and they also lost Alessandro Rigi early, which kind of took the steam out of everyone, especially on the Phoenix side. So
that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, it was a good game though. Just kind of solidifies that Orange County is going to be one of the top sides in the West. I think. Probably don't want to be facing them in the playoffs. Let's see. Up next, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more games to talk about. So Sacramento Republic 2, Rio Grande Valley 1. Sacramento getting the goals from Iwasa in the 61st minute, Hall in the 68th minute. Rio Grande Valley opened the scoring via Carlos Small in the 1st minute, though. Pony, tell us about this one.
Yeah, welcome to Classic Sacramento. For the first 5 minutes of any half, they are an absolutely horrible team. It looks like they always get surprised that the game actually started. And it happened again here where they easily got behind the defense, one-on-one with the keeper for RGV, and they put it away. And after half an hour of trying to desperately hold on to only being down a goal, Sacramento remembered that they're one of the best teams in the West, and RGV is near the bottom of the table, and they started playing like that for the rest of the game. It's one of those. This is what is going to kill Sacramento. I think come playoff time is one of these starts of a half. They're going to give up 2 goals and not be able to get back into it.
Anything from anybody else on that one? Well, I agree with you on that one, Pony. I think they could something like that you mentioned could probably spell the end of their playoff postseason if they do something like that in the playoffs, especially since some of the teams they might be facing. Going back over to the East, Bethlehem Steel 1, Pittsburgh 2. Who gets the goals for Pittsburgh? None other than Nico Brett in the 35th and 79th minute. Steel getting a goal from Nanko in the 52nd minute. Lily Ball, well, Bob Lilly is still continues to do quite well with the Riverhounds. They seems to win. And what are they up to? 4th, 3rd in the East? Higher?
Second.
Second. Well-deserved second place, if you ask me.
We just did we finally finished our power rankings, right? Pony, do you have that accessible to you? Because I think
I could in a couple seconds.
I think we rated Pittsburgh a little bit lower than second. I might be wrong, but
I think I missed doing that a second month in a row, so I apologize.
I think Phil did it like 2 weeks after the rest of us did too, so it's going to be a little bit skewed.
yeah, sure. I had a definite leg up on everybody in that way.
But still, I think impressively enough that Pony, you were talking about it in our group chat that we have, that a Bob Lilly player is leading the Golden Boot race. He's with 13 goals and Nico Brett, and that they also led this game's shot battle 19-4 over Bethlehem.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's not like Bethlehem's bad either. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we had Pittsburgh 4th.
That's still pretty good.
See, that's why I was thinking that they were in 4th, because I was thinking the power rankings, not that they were not the actual standings. No, I think Pittsburgh is going to be a force.
Oh yeah,
they're a good team.
Again, I did it weeks after, and I have them holding strong at second behind Cincinnati. But only, most of that was, I can't remember who they played, but the game before this, I believe. Oh, I can look it up right here in front of me. Nope. The one against the
FC2 they played before Pittsburgh
or
Bethlehem.
Yeah, they shut out Richmond and Toronto.
Yeah, that game is the Richmond game is the one I'm talking about. That one, they just looked insane against Richmond. I mean, just unstoppable, even offensively. And of course, they look the same way defensively. So they look really, really good.
It's like, I mean, we know that Bob Lilly has been very defensive in the past, has had very good defensive teams. Do we think has maybe been not so much a factor in perhaps what he likes to do, so much as maybe a factor of just the players he had available to him? And then now that he's moved to Pittsburgh and he's got a lot, more talent maybe around him, more to choose from, perhaps he's playing differently, or obviously a lot better, scoring goals and getting a lot of shutouts still too.
I think
they're not scoring goals. They only have 28 goals on the season.
Well, Nico Brett's got almost half of those.
Pretty much. It's Nico Brett and company.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Nico Brett's speed, it's easy for them to sit back and then him to have some crazy, full length of the pitch run and score. I think that's been their go-to under Lilly for Evs, but
see, Brett's not the fastest. He's a fast player, I will give you that, but he's not the fastest player out there. Like, he's a good speedy person. I think that Lilly is getting a lot more out of him than anyone has been before. I mean, he's definitely got talent. Like, the USL is his level, and I'm really happy to see him be so successful, because he led T2 in goals scored 2016, I believe it was, with 7. So he's got the talent. I think he just has a better system and better players around him right now, and so he's just putting them away like candy.
11 teams in USL have fewer goals scored than Pittsburgh, who currently have 28. RGV is the fewest at 19. And the 3 teams that have scored fewer goals than Pittsburgh and current spots are Nashville with 21, San Antonio, and Indy with 27.
But we can't say Pittsburgh hasn't scored too many goals or not enough goals. Anywho, next game, Cincinnati beats Penn FC 1-0. Cincinnati goal coming from Ledesma in the 80th minute. Heinemann's return to Cincinnati. He subbed on the 67th minute for Penn. And, that game probably went about as the way any of us would have expected. So any comments on that one?
I think it really didn't go the way at least I expected. I was watching this one, and for the first half, Cincinnati looked really bad. It was one of those, I think they were pretty lucky to be 0-0 at the half. But in the second half, they turned around and like, oh, this is good Cincinnati again. It's one of those where we've seen this now for the past few weeks, where there's good Cincinnati and there's bad Cincinnati. And it's just going to come down to who shows up in the playoffs. If it's good Cincinnati, they should win the East. If it's bad Cincinnati, they need to be on upset alert first round.
So, Ryan, tell us about this 1-0 result for Cincinnati, since I see you typing about it. Just go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, I was just saying that this is Cincinnati's third win of the year by a scoreline of 1-0, and it's their first one since March 31st, since they began the year with 2 1-0 results against Charleston and Indy.
So for all their wins, this is only the third time they've won 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, they were more of a defensive team last year than this year by far. So, that's not surprising to hear. Would you agree, Pony? You watch them pretty closely.
Let's watch. I guess hate watch is a thing. But yeah, this year they're doing pretty decently defensively. I think they're allowing a goal a game. Trying to pull up the 2017 numbers real fast. Yeah, last year they were not good defensively. So I think that is the big difference. Is they're kind of realizing that you need a good defense to win in the USL. You can't just be like New York and try to win 6-5 every single game, because that's not going to work out. And in the first year, they were even better defense than they are now, at least goals per game wise. So it's one of those. They seem to, as much as people want to say they're fun to watch because they can score a lot of goals, it's been their defense that's been getting them wins.
Like I said earlier, defense will win you championships. Goals just makes it entertaining.
Like I said, I think still the worst defensive team to ever win the championship was Charleston, allowing 1 goal per game.
Wow, that's crazy.
They're also the lowest ELO championship as well, which Cincinnati has currently surpassed in their current rating of 1159.
And did you say that's 10? That's their 10th shutout this year, Ryan?
Yeah, correct.
Oh,
Or this match was their 10th shutout on the year.
oh, okay. Never mind.
Cool.
Look at them.
Speaking of shutouts and teams that got only their second win of the year, I mean, having no relation to what we've just talked about, really. Toronto FC2 beats Richmond Kickers 1-0. So that is Toronto's second win of the season. And I don't know probably what second shutout. I don't really know. But shutouts obviously few and far between for them. Toronto getting their goal in the 48th minute from Jordan Hamilton. And I think we kind of talked about this a little bit when Tulsa had won their second game of the season earlier. It's the two teams that are bottom of the table in the West, right? And in the East in their respective conferences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Richmond's third bottom.
Well, Toronto bottom in East, Tulsa bottom in West, what I meant. But
So you're talking about two teams involved in this fixture.
Sorry. Fourth shutout on the year for Toronto. So it looks like they probably have a couple 0-0 draws out there.
Yeah, they have a pair of 0-0 draws. It's actually interesting. They have more shutouts than Tulsa does. But Tulsa's just been the king of drawing a bunch of people in a row. Yeah, Tulsa had a streak where they drew 7 of 8 games.
Wow.
I mean, shockingly, with those 0-0 draws, they got one of them against NC, but more impressively, the other one came against New on April 28th.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive that out of the 3 teams that out of 3 of the 4 teams that Toronto's taken points from are probably going to make playoffs.
Wow.
Crazy.
Toronto FC 2019 D3 champions, anyone?
Love to
No.
see it. It'd be funny. I don't think
Maybe.
so. I think maybe Tormenta. They killed in PDL, I think, this year. I think they did really well.
Well, we'll see. That was the last game for week 22. And I think that's a good time to call it for us. That episode actually went longer than I thought it was. We had a lot to talk about with these matches, I'm sure.
I say one thing I forgot to mention during the Vegas game, we picked up his 11th yellow card of the season, which I think ties for the USL single season record.
After 5, you get suspended for a game. After 3 more, you're suspended for another game. And so that's 8.
2 matches.
So after 3 more, which would be 11 total, he would be suspended again then, right?
Yeah, he's out tomorrow or Wednesday's match, and then Saturday's match as well.
Wow.
He'll have 10 games to pick up 1 more to set the record.
He'll do it.
Yeah, at the rate he's going, it sounds like he'll do it.
I mean, the impressive part of that is he's had 11 yellow cards and they're 22 games into the season. And remember, he's been suspended twice already, so that's a pretty good clip.
And I'm pretty sure Chalice has been suspended more games than he's been allowed on the touchline for, but I've not done that calculation recently.
Funny.
Well, like you said, it's chaos and anarchy in Vegas.
Yep.
But it sure as hell makes it entertaining.
Also true. And it's
Vegas.
UFC night Saturday.
Yeah, Vegas leads the league with 66 yellow cards.
Oh my God. That's a lot. Wow.
And 6 red cards. Also tied for leading the league.
Awesome. Well, on that bombshell, we'll call it a night for the USL show. Appreciate everybody tuning in and listening to us, and we'll catch you next week.